All right. Question number 7 is about biting fingers. She's a 6-year-old girl that has an intellectual disability and has a habit of biting her fingers, and they can't figure out why she's doing this. Some people think that this is, because the child's psychologically anxious. Some people say they're bored, but to the parent, it seems like it's just an old habit. The parents tried to apply medicine to her hands, put Band-Aids that were really hard to come off, scolded her, and tried various other methods. But what they found is like it might have a temporary effect, but nothing long-term. So when the wound is severe, she won't bite it for a while, but as soon as it heals, she'll start to bite again. And so the parent wants to know, like, what should they do? So the answer is it could be true for all those things. The child could be bored sometimes, and that's why they do it. Sometimes the child's anxious, and that's why they do it. And sometimes they don't even think about it, and they're doing it. And so it could be all of those reasons for the same finger biting behavior. So if it's boredom, then what you want to make sure is, does my child has enough leisure skills, play skills, toy play, things that will engage your child's time in order for them not to be bored? So how you know your child's doing it for boredom is that, they do it on their own in their free time when they're not frustrated by something, when you haven't given them a demand and they are just on their own, and that's when they do it. Now, if the child is doing it when you told them to do something they don't want to do, if they go into a situation for which they don't enjoy, it might be because then they are anxious about something and they don't want to be in a situation. And so that's when they engage in the finger biting behavior. Now, if that's the case, whenever you give the child a demand, you make sure you follow through, which means you don't allow the behavior to stop you from making them listen to you. If they're afraid of certain situations, then you have to specifically desensitize them to their fears and teach them coping mechanisms to help deal with their anxieties. Now, the other thing that kids do in terms of these kind of behaviors is for attention. Because like, I get my finger this way, I might get a lot of attention from grandma or mom or dad or somebody in the environment is going to pay a lot of attention to me. So for myself, it's fine for you to dress the wound, right? Put alcohol on it, put sanitizer, anything, and especially something that stings. You want the child to like, you don't want the application of these medicines. So don't find the nice medicines, the medicines that don't hurt the child, that don't produce them any kind of discomfort. What you want to just choose is like something that's effective, that will clean the wound, that will keep them safe, but it has some sting to it. And then you want to administer it coldly, which means that no emotions from your face. Okay, no biting. And then you're just going to like, okay, because of this, but you don't talk to them. You don't comfort them. You don't, are you okay? Are you feeling better? You cut out all that stuff. You just administer it and then you're done with it. And so what you're going to have to do is be very consistent with it. Every single time that you see her doing that, you have to implement the consequence. Now, the other thing to think about is when you are interacting with the child, one, keep the interactions from being sweet and being caring. And that's the hardest thing for parents to do, is to do that. My daughter will whine with my wife, like she'll do something and she'll hurt herself, but not really. Like I've seen my daughter, she's tough, right? And so so with me, she won't do anything. But if my wife's around, she'll instantly like, ooh, and then show my wife, and it's because she knows with my wife, she gets the sympathy that she's looking for. So you got to make sure nobody in the family is giving this child any sympathy for that behavior. Now, one last thing here is that for behaviors that have become habits, things that we regularly do, and sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it, one is about catching it every single time that it happens. And then the second thing is about making sure, like, oh, for people that bite their hands, usually like, oh, I can feel there's something here. So then they take it to their mouths. Oh, their hands are close to their mouths, and then they easily put it into their mouths. So you want to look out for those kind of things, which is like, oh, make sure to manicure your child's fingers and their hands, lotion them up, but file them so that there's not some edge to them at the very onset. And then every single time you see them do it, you have to catch them and you have to tell them no, and then you have to go through with the consequences.